think I did it right this time. Good morning, everybody. We are live right here from the city of Houston, Texas, and all across this nation and all across this globe. If you are watching this by rebroadcast, thank you so much for taking the moment and taking the time. Before you do anything, please like this page, like this post, because other people, when they see you like it, they like it because you're the leader around here. You are in charge, and use your comments. Let me know you're in the place. I'll see them later on, and I'll say, who's here? So and so was here. Oh yeah. So I'll be able to see all that going on. Thank you for being here today and meeting us on this Sunday morning. You're here in my sanctuary. This is where all of the, whether it's messages, whether it's teachings, I mean the in-depth study, the times when I just say this ain't working and I got to get up under the desk and pray, and this is where all this takes place. This is where it comes out of. So thank you for allowing me to bring my sanctuary into your sanctuary. And when I come in there with my sanctuary, from here, I'm bringing all of my friends with me from ALC. So just scoot over a little bit on your sofa. If you're in the bed, just scoot over. Husband, scoot over. Wife, I'm going to bring ALC. We just going to sit right here, and we're going to all watch this together. Because today, I'm talking about my new life. 3-4 years ago, I dealt with something called the overflowing life. Today, I'm talking about my new life. This is what our life is. And you just listen to a song. You listen to a song, which is a song we recorded. The Lord is blessing me. Right there, you can go to iTunes and you can get it. We're going to talk about my new life. What are we going to do on the other side of this COVID-19? What are we going to do on the other side of coronavirus? What are our lives going to be like? You know, the governor is talking about reopening everything. The mayor said, I'm not going to talk about it until next week. There has to be a plan. We can't all lock up and stay at home. Sooner or later, we've got to come out. And we've got to stick our heads up out of that little hole in the ground. We've got to look around and see what can we do. How are we going to do this? It's not going to be easy. We're going to have plans, whether it's opening business. And if you notice, they're not even talking about how to open up gatherings, open up churches. They're kind of being real quiet about that. But we've got plans. We've got plans about how we're going to do it when it's time to do it. Because I promise you, I am not going to endanger the lives of our people. Whatever we're going to do it safe. And we're going to do it after much conversation. I want to tell you a story. And what this is about is, here's the subject. The series is called My New Life. But today, the subject matter, the title, is called 3 Things You Need to Trash If You Are Going to a Higher Level. 3 things you need to trash if you are going to a higher level. We're in a place right now that we're making some decisions. What are we going to do for the future? And I was reminded of something that took place. I was about 10 years old. And I had grown up in the Methodist church, but I started going to the Baptist church, which was in a movie theater. It's actually the largest Baptist church in that city of Cleveland, Ohio. And I decided I wanted to go to that church. And when I went to the church with my grandmother, my grandmother made me go, Sunday school class, things of that sort. There was a children's choir they were getting ready to start. And I wanted to be a part of the children's choir. So I went to rehearsal, and they let me rehearse that night, but then they told me that you can't be a part of the children's choir unless you're a member of the church. And so I said, I'm not passing this up. I'm going to be a member. So I went home. My grandmother picked me up, and I said, I'm going to be a part of the member of the church. She said, why you want to be a member of the church? I said, so I can sing in the choir. She said, well, you just can't do that. You got to believe that the Lord loves you and ask the Lord into your heart. So I thought about it for a minute. I said, yeah, well, I can do that. That's what. And so I decided I was going to do that. But in order to be a member of the church, she said, you're going to have to get up and walk down the aisle. That's a long aisle. That's a long, daggone aisle. And sit in that chair where the deacons put out. And sit in that chair, and then they're going to ask you questions. You got to answer the questions. Then can I join the choir? She said, no, then you're going to have to be baptized. You can't be a member of the church until you get baptized because you come in as a candidate for baptism. You're only 10 years old. You don't have no Christian experience. I said, okay. Well, I loved water. You taught me how to swim. I couldn't wait to get in that water. I saw that water. I wanted in that water anyway. So everything was falling in place like dominoes for me. I got up a couple of Sundays later. I said, I'm doing this. I said, I need to join the church. She said, okay, go ahead. I got up, got out of the aisle, walked down there, everybody started clapping. I was wondering, what in the world did I do? Got down there, sat down in the chair. The lady came, took some information for me. I gave her my information. She said I had my address and all those kind of things. Finally, the pastor came. He was so big, I was so little. And he says, Eddie. I said, yes. He says, do you believe that Jesus is in your heart? And I said, yes. Now, you have to understand now, up until this point, my grandfather's been my spiritual teacher. My grandmother didn't teach me as in most homes. My grandfather was. And the only picture I had of Jesus was this little bitty Bible. And it had a picture of a nice guy, little thin guy with this straight hair in a robe with a bird on his finger, or either on his shoulder, and all these little kids playing around him. And I said, is that who I want come into my heart? And I said, well, if I'm going to get in this choir, I better say something. Yes, yes. He said, do you believe Jesus forgiving you of your sins? I said, this is where I hesitated again. I was trying to figure out, I'm only 10 years old. What sins could I have? I was trying to figure out what my sins were. Then I realized my mother had whipped me last week for going outside. When I told her I wouldn't go, I went. I told a lie. And I had a sin now. I said, yes, I believe Jesus forgives me of my sins. And he says, okay. And he gave me the right hand of fellowship. I was in like flint. You know, I think it hurt me bad because to this day, my grandmother passed away. And I don't think I ever told her. Get in the water. It wasn't until I was about 16 or 17 years old that I really asked the Lord into my life. And I realized I had sins. Let me tell you something. No, 17 or 18. When you're 17, 18, and 19, you got some sins. I had some. I finally got some real good sins that I needed to be saved from. And so, but I never told her that day. As a matter of fact, I never even told my own church that. I didn't resolve that until later on. I was pastor of ALC when I finally resolved that. I probably shouldn't be telling this live anyway. And I said, you mean to tell me I got a pastor that didn't even get saved anyway. But here's how it went. Here's how I reconciled it. At 10 years old, I never felt as if God was away from me. I grew up in a home of love. I grew up in a home where they spoke of God. My mother and father even debated things about God. I would sit at the table. He went to the Methodist church. She went to the Baptist church. And she would go to her church. He would go to his church. And they would come together around the dinner table. And they would talk about what each one of their ministers preached and how it worked. And I would listen to both sides of things. I always felt as if I was in the home of God. I didn't feel as if I was without God. I grew up. So when somebody asked me, do you want Jesus in your life? I already got God in my life. What are you asking me? This was the religion side of it, the joining of the church side of it. So I realized that I was in God's house all along. That's how I looked at it. So what are you saying? Here's the way the story works. There was a young man, comes out of Luke chapter 15. And at Luke chapter 15, this young man leaves his house and he asks his father for his money. And he says, Dad, you said you're going to divide the money between me and my brother. And the father said, okay, cool. I sure did. That we've worked all these years for. And he divided the money. The older brother stayed home, kept the money, kept working. The youngest son stayed home for a few days, but you know how they are. Got up, took his money, got his clothes, and he left and went off into this space, this place where he could do his thing. Hooked up with some people, they partied till the money ran out, then everybody left him. He was broke, and he finally decided to try to get a job. Nobody helped him. He got a job feeding pigs. He was so hungry. He looked at the pig slop he was feeding to the pigs, and it looked good. When stuff looked good for you, and you know. Anyway, I'm going to talk about that in the weeks to come. And finally, he said, I'm going home. He went home, and what brought him to the point of going home, is amazing. I know you think you've heard the story. You haven't heard the story now. Not really. He went home. And when he went home, his father gave him a robe. His father gave him his same, gave him a ring. His father gave him jewelry, brought him back just like he had never left. Older brother got mad, and, hey, you ain't never gave me nothing. And finally, both sons were now back home. This is the whole story, because I have to use the whole story to tell it. I can't go piece by piece. But going back to the beginning about why he left, there are 3 things that you have to trash mentally if you're going to go to this next level in your spirituality. And I know some of us are already thinking about it right now. In other words, you don't want to go back into the same, you may go back to the same church, but you don't want to go back the same way you left. Sometimes, maybe before you went because, hey, everyone did good. You went to get entertained. But now, with this COVID-19 around us, you're going to get enlightened because you know something about your spirituality. Everything begins with consciousness. The consciousness, in other words, the brain didn't form the consciousness formed the brain. The consciousness is what's within us. And from that consciousness, our spiritual awareness, we can strengthen our immune systems, which is able to clear our inflammation and keep our body strong. If you got a strong mind, a strong conscience, a strong spiritual constitution, it keeps us strong even physically. And so now you got to be taught a little bit differently. Taught differently. And these are the things that you got to trash if you want to go to the next level. And you got to find some people that's going to help you. Listen to your spiritual leaders a little bit more now. To those that you've entrusted your spiritual life to hear. Begin to listen for some of these things. Number 1. Here's what you trash first. Don't accept the thing in your mind that you are God's infant when you are really God's offspring. I'm going to say it again. I am not God's infant. I am God's offspring. Get rid of the thinking that I'm God's little infant. In other words, somewhere down the line, I don't know, I was a little spiritual baby. And somebody came and wrapped me in swaddling clothes and laid me on the doorstep of God. Rang the doorbell, ran away. God came to the door and said, oh, look at the little baby. And brought me into his house. And I've been growing up in God's house. And God loved me and fed me and took care of me. But God said to me, if you ever be bad, I'm going to stop feeding you and I'll stop taking care of you because, you're not really mine. They left you on the doorstep. I know I'm exaggerating, but sometimes this is how people feel, that if they do bad things, that God's going to immediately judge them and condemn them to hell immediately. But you got to trash that. Notice what that passage of scripture says. It says the son left the father's house. But the key of it is that he is a young son. And what I take this to mean is that he is young. If we were to translate it to our world, it's young in our spiritual lives. Young in our spiritual lives. I got my little iced tea here. It shows that he left his father's house young. And I believe that we all probably left when we got into this COVID-19. We might have been a little naive, and not all of us, of course, but wondering, I'm an infant, I'm a child, can God really, what is God going to do about this? And we forget that we are not human beings looking for a divine experience, or human looking for God, or human having to seek a divine experience where we're going from building to building, spiritual understanding to spiritual understanding. I think we've come to the understanding now that we are divine creatures having a human experience. We were born in God's house. Yes, born in God's house. And from the time of a baby, we've just been in God's house. I don't think we were born as unsaved babies. That if something happened as a baby, God just sent us away. Well, you didn't say anything about how much you loved me. That's not God. We were raised in God's house. Here's what Jesus calls it. Jesus does not use the word sinner so much as he uses the word lost. If we are lost, then it means that we are connected to something that we are either unaware of or is unaware of us. God is always aware of us. Maybe we are unaware of who we really are. So that first thing is to realize that we are the offspring of God. See, little children always, God help me, God do this, God do this for me. Give me a car, give me a house, give me some clothes. What are you going to do about this COVID-19? What we learn about this COVID-19 is we're learning, how does this COVID-19 work? How do we work with it? How do we work around it? It's not, from what we're understanding, it's not going away. We're hearing later on down the line that even over in Korea right now, they're discovering it's quite possible that you can get it again. We don't know how it works. Right now, we're learning how it works by staying in. We're giving the hospitals and the scientists and the people time enough to realize how this thing works. Science is not our enemy. Science is our friend. The medical profession is not our enemy. It is our friend. But at the same time, we got to do our part. And our part is learning to be patient, learning to be disciplined, and staying put for a while to let them do their job and to get a good footing on this thing. It's like David and Goliath. It's interesting if it was a Goliath, if we were David and we were fighting Goliath, and Goliath had a big spear that you could chuck the spear at us, and a big shield and a big helmet. But we could see Goliath. But our Goliath is invisible. We don't know where it's coming at, how it's coming at us. What do we touch? How we put our hands on our face? I used to put my hands on my face all the time doing that. This is different now. The giant is invisible. But if you have a sense of understanding that I'm not a baby or an infant with God, I'm God's offspring. I am God's son. I am God's daughter. We approach this thing with a totally different attitude. I'm never going to be a gap where I don't have God. Number two, here's another attitude, the trash, if you're going to a higher level. I can be as reckless as I want. Maybe if I just pray hard enough or think good thoughts hard enough, that either God or the universe will give it to me. As reckless thinking. That number 2, trash that thing. Just throw that into the trash now. That I can be as reckless as I want. And God will fix it, or the universe will fix it, or everything will fall into place. No, we are the offspring of God, which means that we have responsibility, and we got to learn how to work with everything. See, that virus is just trying to do what it wants to do to live. We have to learn that that virus is not going away. Smallpox didn't go away. Measles didn't go away. SARS didn't go away. HIV didn't go away. None of these went away. We learned how to work around it, through it. It was almost as if it was where we are right now. It's like in a dark room, and we're bumping into, and we're afraid of what we're going to touch, what we're going to say, what we're going to touch, who we're going to be around, what the other person touched, all these things. But we become enlightened. The lights come on in the room. We can see where everything is, at least somewhat. And we know, don't go that way because we'll get locked in. We'll bump our knees over here. And at least we can make some shifts and changes. Not being reckless. I don't care what the governor says about now you can go to the beaches. Have some sense. Think about it. Let your spiritual eyes click in right now. Maybe now is not the time for the beach. Think about even your schooling. Some of them are saying, no, we're not going to school just yet. We got to learn how to act. Maybe we need to choreograph some things and learn how to act in certain places and how to go back. One of the things we don't want, and that is to rush back into what we call a normal life, doing things the way we used to do it, and this thing comes back and hits us double. I think we're all going to be a little bit more careful. I think we're all going to be putting those masks on and not making people feel bad when they put their mask on. We got to live on the other side of this thing and live our lives and take our time. Don't be reckless. Number three. Number three is a good number. 3. It is to realize that God, okay, here's how they said it. God will not put on me more than I can bear. How many of you have heard that? Here's what's reckless about that. Throw that away. First of all, that's not the way the scripture goes. God will not put on me more than I can bear. No. First of all, this son had left home. He had a pocket full of money. He went out and began to flash this cash. You flash enough cash, people are going to attract themselves to your money. Kabam! As they attracted themselves, he had everything he wanted. But you know the story. After a while, the money ran out. When the cash runs out, the party is over. Nobody can buy the liquor. They can't buy the smokes. They can't buy none of that stuff. And guess what? They're going to look for somebody else that's got the cash. He was not broke. The demand from the outside, they were writing, and that when they discovered that when they wrote a check on him, the check bounced. There was nothing in the account. That's when they walked away. When the outside pulls on us, but there's nothing on the inside that can pay the demand of what people are pulling. This is why it's so important to feed our spirits and to find those that can help us to be enlightened. This is not about just getting a spiritual fix. This is about having the substance in us that when things go wrong, we have enough inside of us to realize that I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. How does Christ strengthen me? Strengthens me through a strong mind, through the renewing of my mind. Christ, the word Christ means Messiah. The word Christ means anointed one. Christ is not his last name. Jesus the Christ. Jesus the anointed. Jesus, the one with God inside. Boom. This is where we learn that we are the offspring of God, not God's little child. It's just like this. Jesus is not our God as much as he is our brother. I'm going to say it again. Don't you turn me off. Stay right. Jesus is not our God as much as Jesus is our brother. God is our God. Our deity, our supreme being, the God of the universe, the God who molded our planets and flung the silver stars into space. God who is in control of this universe and created us in such a way that we realize that we are his offspring. And Jesus has been teaching us this all along. In John chapter 15, John chapter 16, he says, there's going to come a time you can't always depend on me because I'm going to be gone. Don't ask me. Don't pray to me. Don't tell me what you need. Go to the Father because the Father loves you as a son. Just like he loves me, he loves you. You are the offspring of God. And number two, you don't have to sit around. Don't be reckless. Take the time. If we have to quarantine, we quarantine. Don't be reckless while you're in the house. You're in there with. You can't. That song hit my brain. You can't be with who you want. Love the one you're with. Whoever you quarantine with, love the one you quarantine with. Get the chance to know them. Know who they are. Don't just write them off. Take the time. Don't sit in a house with somebody for this whole quarantine. And then when you leave, you don't even know the person you're with. Realize that you can't just do what we want and then pray to God to fix it. When God doesn't fix it, then we get mad at God and wonder, why didn't God fix it? Through these filters that way. And that third one, what? God put more on you than you can bear. Let me tell you what happened with that demand. When demands come from the outside, when people who are relating to us want love from us, when our children who want time from us want time from us, and they can't get it, and we feel empty, we feel that there's nothing else there to give. That boy felt that all his money had run out. It was all gone. They're putting demands on him, and he couldn't meet the demands. This is what causes the depression. This is what I believe causes the anxiety. The pressures of being at home. We always want to be entertained. Turn on TV, watch a game, and all these are wonderful things. There's nothing wrong with it. But we have not learned or concentrated on our spirituality. And what I'm going to do is give you three things that you can do every day. It's not just enough to trash those three things, but it's because it leaves you empty. You don't need an empty house. You need to put some furniture in. I'm going to give you three things that you can do every single day. Three questions you have to ask yourself every single day. It's what I've learned over 45 years ago. I get the opportunity to help many people from so many different walks of life. And these are the three things that I teach them to ask themselves every single day. How many of you know what I'm talking about. I've got some people out there that I've been teaching for years, and I hope that you're getting something out of it. And I'm going to come right back and give you those three things, and then we're going to do our soaking prayer. I call it soaking prayer because this is a prayer that I believe is going to get deep into ourselves. But just before I get there, let me say this real quickly. I take a moment, give, share what you have with those that are helping you to stay lifted and stay encouraged. Look, I know this is not what we consider to be a regular church service. We're not trying to imitate a church service or make a church. That's not what I'm trying to do. If that was the case, I probably would just stand up and preach to you. But what I want to do is just come into your home and just talk to you. And I want to watch you grow over these next few weeks or however long we got to do this. Because I know you can. I know it's in you. So take a moment and continue to help us to do what we do. Go to myalc.org, myalc.org. That's our website. As a matter of fact, I believe our new website is up. You get a chance to look at it, see it, and push that donate button. Crash it, smash it. It won't break. Push that donate button, and it'll take you right to the site that is safe and secure. We make sure of that, especially at times like these. And get your credit card, your debit card, and give. Just like you normally would on Sunday morning or through the week. Don't wait till tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. No. Get about that bed. Come on, you can do this. And hit that donate button. Secondly, if you're watching by the app, usually on your phone, just click that donate button, which is the same thing there, and it will take you to the giving space where you can do that. And thirdly, if you're watching, if you have your phone, if you're watching by the internet or whatever, you have your phone, you can text to give. This thing works. It is so fast. It'll be so fast. You'll say, whoo, that was fast. It's faster than me giving you these points. It's fast. And the way you do it is that you go to the text message part, and type in $5, just $5 or $10, $20, whatever that number is. And you text it to this number. What's that number?
713 742 2035.
2035. I love that announcer's voice. 713
742 2035.
Oh, we're getting good at this. We've been doing it so long now. And type that in, and it will go fast. And give. I know there are a lot of people that are asking you to share with them, but especially ALC. If you're just visiting, I understand you may have other places that you give to. But if you're visiting at ALC, part of this, and maybe you haven't been to ALC in a number of years, but you're saying, you know what, this is my home. It's time for me to come back home because I see what I'm missing here. You can do that, and so you can make that first contribution. It gets your name right back on the roll. So when you come, you'll say, hey, I'm already on the roll. And of course, we've sent out our envelopes. Those you can, and that address is Abundant Life Cathedral, P.O. Box 772 300. Boy, you think I knew that. Abundant Life Cathedral, 772-300, Houston, Texas, 77215. Or you can write Ed Montgomery, P.O. Box 772-300, Houston, Texas, 77215, and get that to us. We would certainly appreciate your contribution. 3 things you got to do. 3 things. These are 3 questions. Do you realize that if you tell God, that's the difference. If you tell God, I don't have any money, you probably won't have any money. Because when you tell God you don't have any money, guess what you just told God? I don't have any money. And God will fulfill exactly what it is you say. So you've got to change how we talk. When you trash all of that, when you go into this next spiritual level, this next spiritual height, here's the first thing you ask every day. Who am I? Say it with me. Who am I? The second spiritual thing you do is ask the question, Why am I here? Or what is my purpose? Why am I here? Who am I? I wrote this book over 45 years ago. It's out of print now. Because when you ask, who am I? God will return that answer and begin to tell you and share with you just who you really are. When you begin to realize who you are, how powerful you are, what it is that you are made of, where you come from, what you have the potential of doing, you will begin to see yourself in a light like you've never seen before. You will begin to open up your eyes. You will begin to see how your money works. You will begin to see how that you are not alone. You begin to see that if they close down one job, God's going to open up another job. You're going to begin to see how your talents and your gifts can be lifted and translated and transferred and transformed into other gifts that can be used on another kind of job. You will begin to see that your life, that God actually has more plans for you than you have energy to do. You are not done yet. This is going to be. Do you realize that during the pandemics, there was a man who was sent home from school. He had to go to and quarantine in his own house. Went out in the backyard, and an apple fell from the tree, and he created and wrote a book on the concept of gravity. That was Sir Isaac Newton. Shakespeare wrote his best plays during a pandemic of his day. When you ask the question, who am I? God will begin to answer while you sleep. He'll talk to you. When you wake up, he'll talk to you. Let me tell you the best place. You want to know the best place God answers you? In the shower. Who am I? That's the first question. Number two, why am I here? You got to tell me why I'm here. There are going to be people going to be asking the question when they get out of their houses, Lord, why am I here? You're in there for a good reason. Why am I here? Why do I live where I live? Why am I on this planet? The third thing that you're going to ask, what do I want? I didn't ask you right now what you need. You will get that. What do you want in your life? You know, before it was, hey, I wanted a new car. Boy, I was looking at this house down the street. That's a new house I want to get. Do you realize that a lot of people are asking right now what I want? They want a mask. Can you find me a custom-made mask? Now people are getting masks by designers, designer mask. Lord have mercy. Oh my, the America that I live in, and my people that live in the America that I live in. This is going to be a time that is going to be challenging to all of us. But there's a fourth one. I didn't put it on my screen. I didn't put it on the three. But there's a fourth one I just thought about, just hit me. And that is, what can I give? What do people need and what can I give? That's the one I'm asking myself personally also every day right now. What can I give? What do people need? When I search the news, when I search Houston's news, local, and I search national news, what do people need? One thing I do know that they need, and they need a sense of stability. They need a God that's not just a God who will come down and wipe it all away or blow it out of the atmosphere. If God could have done that or would have done that, he would have done it. But this is our planet, and we've got to figure it out, and we've got to work this. Did you know that even the Rubik's Cube was created during the pandemic? So the thing that teaches us to fix things, this is where we are right now. It's going to take patience, and it's going to take endurance. If you're with someone there, I want you to take their hand. Someone, if they're there, you got to take their hand now. If they're quarantined in another part of the house, don't take their hand. You know what I'm talking about. You have to decide how your kids are there. You know, hugs and all of these things. We're missing this energy. If you're by yourself, take your iPad or take as you're holding your phone. If there's something that we used to do when we did television, we would ask people for what was called a point of contact. Just touch your screen. if you can, just touch the screen or wherever the sound is, so maybe you can feel the vibrations that are there. Because I'm going to do two things. First of all, I want you to get quiet. This is nobody else's business but yours. And remember that you are not a child, a baby in God, or just God's child. You are God's daughter. You are God's son. And realize that the power of God and the flow of God is all through you. Yes, 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 yes. It's there. And it's flowing in you. As you breathe in and breathe out, you're breathing in the presence and the flow of God. Just the rhythm of your breath has put you into this flow. The people around you, you're drawing energy from everyone. They're drawing energy from you and you from them. And through this screen right now, I speak these words that are just harmony to yours. This is not my words alone. These words are resounding in your own soul. This is harmony. The God of peace is descended upon your mind. The God of love is wrapping all around you. The God of health is surrounding you, your family, and your home. Oh yeah, you gotta do what you have to do to protect yourself. But at the same time, you also take the tool of realizing, I am health. I pray for healing. I pray for the ability to trust God and that God within is never before. Listen to your instincts. Listen to your discernment. Because these are going to be the things that are going to protect you and keep you safe. Now, if I can get an amen out there, somebody just type it in there. If I can get a hallelujah out there, you can spell hallelujah, just type hallelujah. If you've got some hearts out there, press those hearts and let those hearts run across. I don't know how they do it. Let them run across their screen. If you got any questions, type your questions in the comments. I will answer them this coming Wednesday as I dig further and deeper into this. If you got something from today and you said, you know what? And this is your first time being online, you say, you know what? Wow. I live in Houston. I never knew you existed. Go into the comment section. Let me know. Because I can read those comments. I blow them up real high and I push the button and they kind of read them to me. And I'm able to see those comments. I know who you are watching. Don't be ashamed to let your request be made known. If there's special prayer requests that you need, let me know. If if you're dealing with it, if you're going through that COVID-19 and you've had to be quarantined and you're going through it, let me know. Because I can add my prayers to yours and we can add all of our prayers to you. If you're dealing with some unemployment, let me know, because I'm coming up with a list where we're going to, let's see, prayer is energy, ladies and gentlemen. Don't discount it. We don't know what we can fix and what we can't fix, but we can always pray and we can keep enlightening you and stay in contact with you in a way that's a little bit different than what we're doing right now. So push those likes, push that subscribe, smash it, hit it. You believe me, that was Siri. You know, she just told me, she said, I didn't get that. That means I guess we got to go. Yes, you understand, Siri. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But this is who's important right now. You're here just like we are. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. much. Oh, by the way, Sandra's doing fine. Everybody's doing fine here. How are you? Good? Good? Okay. I know y'all some of y'all probably clicking out. You're going to your next service, wherever you go. Enjoy it. Thank you. And thank you for your contribution that you've been helping me. People have been sending me little things. Listen, it helps. Believe me, these little contributions, little things you send me, it helps me. I appreciate it. They're waving at me. Bye-bye. Love you. Love you.